Welcome to Refugee Radio.
My name is Yusuf and I am a refugee in the UK. And my idea is a new organization to support refugee employment and leadership in our charitable sector. And the name of the organization is Experts by Experience Employment Initiative. So just a bit of a background, like it all started actually within my own journey of actually coming to the UK. I came in 2014 as a student, and my idea was actually kind of just to study about asylum policy. How the countries and international organizations are helping refugees and what are the mechanisms that they actually create some governance and asylum. But ironically enough, in the middle of my studies, I had to apply for asylum in the UK because of the problems in my country, and I couldn't go back. And then I applied for asylum. And then I actually realized that it is so different to actually live through the asylum system. So you can't understand by books or watching videos how it is to actually go and seek asylum. I was a bit lucky, obviously. I didn't go to a dangerous journey like the Channel or Mediterranean. So I was a bit lucky. I was here already. So I applied for asylum while I was already here. But still, there were a lot of issues during the asylum system. It just takes all the confidence that you have, and you are supposed to be rebuilding a new life. But actually, you've been put like a lot of letters from the Home Office saying that you might be detained or you need to go and report to this immigration officer. You might not be, continue your education and other bits. So it was very, very difficult. And later on, I met a lot of fellow refugees. And I found that actually, what people are experiencing is so much worse than my case. People have been waiting like 6 years, 7 years, sometimes 10 years in really difficult conditions in terms of accommodation as well. So that actually kind of made me realize that actually, lived experience, being an expert by experience is so important to really understand the impact of a policy, especially in the migration sector. There was one thing that really kept me sane during that process, and that was my employment. I had a right to work, unless so many other people seeking asylum. Because of my previous student visa, I was able to work actually at the library, and I was teaching my students. So it was a bit funny, like at 10 o'clock on a Monday, I would go to immigration officers and report them that I am here, I'm not going anywhere. And then at 11 o'clock, I would just run through and teach my students. So it was a bit funny at that time, but actually that really kept me sane and it built my resilience. The work, every day I need to go and teach my students, do something to the community. So that's the reason actually I created this initiative to help refugees to get into employment, to start their leadership journey in the UK.
And you mentioned the asylum process takes away people's confidence, especially with not letting people work while they're claiming asylum and all of that stuff. Would you go so far as to say that it breaks people's spirits?
I would definitely say so. Yes, definitely. So, the moment that you seek asylum, you will see you will be given your rights and everything. If you will know what you can do and what you can't do. So we have a mandatory dispersal policy in terms of accommodation. So when you apply for asylum, if you don't have money to pay for your rent, they will ask you to go somewhere in the country. It's kind of like a lottery, to live. So they will give you a place to live, but they're not going to ask you where do you want to live. So you might end up in Wales, you might end up in Scotland or somewhere in England. So you are actually put somewhere by them. So that just like takes away your agency as well. You are rebuilding your life. You might have your ideas and plans for a new career maybe, or a new life. Now that you are here, you are safe. But no, it's actually, it just like takes your confidence and spirit by that. And as you said also, they don't give you right to work. And in most cases, actually, there have been letters going to people saying that you can't actually continue your education as well. It's actually wrong. There were so many mistakes in the system. I had a right to education. I could continue my studies, but I received a letter saying that you can't. So if I didn't have my confidence and courage to call them and say them like this is wrong, I could maybe not be able to continue in my education as well. So I think it's a very complex process that actually really takes all the power and agency that a person has. That includes their background, their employment, their expertise from their home country as well. So the people that we are supporting in the initiative, they always say that, they didn't have that courage to actually apply for a role because of the system. The system just makes it so worse and difficult for people.
And could you tell us a little bit about the kinds of roles that you're helping people to apply for, or that you're imagining people will be applying for through this scheme?
Yeah, so our initiative is really about our migration and refugee charitable sector. So obviously, we would be very happy for refugees to set up their own organization or apply for other jobs in other sectors. It can be, hospitality sector, IT sector is perfect. They need to follow their aspirations. But what I wanted to establish with this initiative was everyone who is going through the asylum system is an expert by experience. So they are actually kind of having a lived experience of the system just makes them an expert in the asylum system. And we are encouraging them to use that lived experience in our charitable sector. So the roles that we are supporting is all actually in our charities, in our charitable sector, like helping refugees, but also advocacy and policy influencing activities with the Home Office. So what we are really encouraging is actually people to become policy and advocacy officers or leaders in the charity sector. So being a CEO or a director of a services of a charity, if they were in that position, then that service could actually better address all the problems that people are suffering or people are facing in the system. Because of that lived experience, we want to encourage people to actually kind of apply for the roles in the charitable sector, and that's what we are providing support to.
And why do you think that that's not happening already? Why do you think that? Do you think it's the employees or is it the employers? Why are we not seeing that more in the refugee charitable sector today?
There is actually a commitment to do that, and the commitment is actually kind of becoming bigger and bigger in this sector now. So people do understand that what it should be actually like. I shouldn't be leading this service that I provide, destitution service to people seeking asylum. Maybe someone who is in that position could actually better run this service. So there is a lot of new understanding and commitment that we need to establish leadership pathways for people with lived experience in the asylum system so that they can actually become leaders and run the service or run an advocacy activity with the Home Office. And also we've seen, for example, a lot of new job advertisements, and it says we are encouraging refugees, people seeking asylum to apply for the role as well. But what we are not seeing is actually a true understanding of what people's needs are. So if you think about the person seeking asylum, they will, for example, wait for 4 or 5 years for a decision. As I mentioned, they wouldn't be able to kind of develop their skills maybe during that time because of all the different things going on. Or maybe they wouldn't be in that mindset to actually kind of think about their CV. So they will start with a gap in their CV anyway. And because our employment system is so standardized, people cannot actually express themselves in that employment system. In an interview, they wouldn't be able to tell you a good experience of how they manage a team because for the last 5 years, they are trying to seek their safety. It's just about actually really kind of how do we support them to look in their experiences, any kind of experiences, especially from their home countries as well, and get them familiar with the employment system so that they can actually express themselves very well in the application. But this is only the one part of the story. The other part is actually we need to check with our charities as well and ask them, are your recruitment process inclusive enough? Or is it equitable enough? It's not enough to just say that we encourage people to apply. are you actually providing CV cover letter advice to those people so that they can actually better express themselves in the policy? Are you giving the interview questions before the interview, for example, so that they have a bit of a time to think about that, and that will kind of really, address the language barriers as well. So we need to think really both ways. It's not just supporting refugees and migrants, but also we need to change the way that we are recruiting people in our charitable sector as well. And I think it's all sectors as well, obviously, to be inclusive. But yeah, what we are doing is actually we are working with our charities to make it more inclusive for people.
And are you going to be working with individuals then, training them in interview skill techniques, in how to, job application techniques, things like that on a one-to-one basis, or are you doing classes?
So we have a different kind of approach to this. So what we wanted to focus on, there are already amazing charities that really supports one-to-one and classes to people. So we said that, yes, people should follow their aspirations, and there are already like CV cover letter advice from wide range of charities. But we wanted to focus on the organizations and how we can actually first change the recruitment processes and then actually support people to go into that. So we created a membership of different organizations, so they can actually sign up and they can commit that, yes, we will look into our recruitment process and improve it so that we can actually have more refugees and migrants working with us. And then once they sign up, we ask them, any of their staff members or volunteers would like to be mentors for people. So they sign up to be mentors in our initiative as well. And then what we do is we support job roles, not people, but job roles. So for example, let's say one member organization, they put a very exciting role, director of services, and they actually kind of encourage really people with refugee backgrounds into that role. We put a link in the job advert saying that if you are someone with lived experience and if you need some support, fill in this survey, and then we will provide you an independent and confidential support from a mentor from a different member organization. So it's not the same organization, so that they feel confident and ask questions and get support from them. So that's how we work actually. It's kind of like member organizations helping each other by providing some individual support to experts by experience who are applying to the roles in that member organization. So that's the model we are trying to work. But alongside this, we are developing our guidance also for individuals as well, where we actually provide like how to write CV and cover letters specifically for refugees. So in the future, if we have capacity, we might actually also host some education sessions as well. So that's all on the table, but we want to kind of start with this model of working in the initial stage.
Yeah, I think it's a brilliant idea. So experts by experience, are you looking for investors or crowdfunding? What's your plan to get it off the ground, and what do you need to make this happen?
So we've started this project in February as a pilot mode. So we said that let's support 2-3 roles, and we've actually supported 3 roles now successful, and we are collecting some feedback on how to move on. But thanks to Ideas into Action program, which I think you will hear later on, I was able to kind of really get technical and all detailed support to really properly make this an organization. And at the moment, I am crowdfunding, and I think it's like 6 days left in the crowdfunding. But yeah, so I have a crowdfunding page just to get the startup money to pay for our subscription on our website, so that we actually kind of streamline our workflow and better support our volunteer mentors. And very happily, we've hit the initial target, and now we are aiming for the second target, which is actually to support us to hire a refugee coordinator, so that we can amplify our outreach and reach out to more member organizations, and also reach out to more mentors and also more refugees and migrants to link them up with this initiative and actually provide the support to them. So I would appreciate any support to crowdfunding on that.
Well, we'll put a link to the crowdfunder on the website, refugeeradio.org.uk, where this program is going to initially go out. Do you have another link or website that you direct people to?
Yes, so I do have the project website. So that is Pathways to Leadership. So Pathways 2 leadership.softr.app. So pathways number 2 leadership.softr.app. So that's kind of like an online application where people can learn more about the project. They can volunteer if they're working in the charities, or if they're directors of the charities, they can sign up their charities as a member organization, and we can support their job advertisement as well.
I think it's a great idea. And yeah, the refugee charitable sector does need to be more representative of the people it's trying to work. And as you say, the people who have the lived experience, who've been through the process, know better than anybody what kind of support people need.
We do a lot of conversations, a lot of debates about migrants and refugees, but migrants and refugees should be on the table. So they should actually lead the debates and conversations and everything. So we are very happy if this initiative could actually support a bit about that aim and vision. So thanks for that. Obviously, in the last year, we've seen so many conflicts in the world, and there are a bit of a better interest into like the issues with refugees. So I think it is time that we really need to think about like how do we support refugees, but also not just the new refugees, but refugees who are already here, how they can build their life. So I think, any kind of initiative with this, with my colleagues, with the Ideas into Action program, we are all like working towards that. So any support into this kind of initiative would be very appreciated.
And we've had some questions on social media coming in for you. I'm just coding. It's Fred. He says, do you have any message for the refugee community who might want to apply?
Definitely. I really want to encourage my fellow refugees, people seeking still in the asylum, or migrants in general, to find any opportunity to engage with people. It's a very lonely process. It's a very difficult process. But if you speak to people, if you engage with programs and projects, then you will develop skills. You will kind of find opportunities. It will open so many doors. So really look at opportunities in your local area, if not regional or national, and engage with projects and ideas, and keep up with what you have in your idea, and you just follow your aspirations. We are not just labels of refugees and asylum seekers. We have all different ideas and skill sets. We just need to focus on those and go for our aspirations. So that's just one message that I would say. I've learned a lot through just engaging and speaking to people. So I would just advise really go and speak to people and engage with people and communities, please.
We have Mjed with us today. Your background is you're an architectural engineer. Is that correct?
Yes, that's true.
From Syria?
Yeah.
You're the third architectural engineer from Syria I've spoken to in the past month. I think that's got to be a record. I've recently, for this program, interviewed a guy called Mohammed Hafez and Marwa Al-Sabouni. Both were involved with the Brighton Festival down here last month. So you're in good company there.
Yes. A few months ago, before I started, I've never heard about this kind of organization. I have never knew that I would find this kind of support to start a whole organization or a company by myself. Absolutely, it's an eye-opening experience at the first point to know that I have all these opportunities here in this country. It helped me to develop from a very basic idea into nearly well-structured idea, and currently I'm getting prepared to register it legally, to make it a real enterprise.
And I saw, I think you'd written that you started working in your family business on construction sites when you were young. How old were you when you started doing that kind of work, and what did they have you doing?
Well, in Syrian standards, it's fine as a child to go to a construction site. So I used to go, maybe I was around 9 or something like this. Maybe not to do a real work, just to accompany my father or my uncle and just play around while other people are working. And then I started to do more work when I was in the university. While I was studying architectural engineering, here I started to assist my father in more like site supervision to go and check how things are going on in general on the site. And
you had a vision of a project here in the UK using refugee tradespeople to improve people's refugees' access to work, but also to improve the consumers' access to decent tradespeople who actually turn up on time and do the work that they say they're going to do. Is that right?
Well, if I want to speak about a life-changing experience for me, it was when I was working in Lebanon, because I worked in Lebanon for about 4 years. We had a project of a grocery or vegetables wholesale market, and when I went to the client, who was the mayor, he was explaining their vision on what they want out of this project, and the funders the funder who was the European Union wanted. And I was really shocked to hear the requirements is that they want to build a building that they want me to make a design that this building, when they would take the most amount of labor, if I can say this. And the purpose of this building was to provide more job opportunities for the local farmers, for the local Lebanese farmers, and for the Syrian refugees as well, to avoid the sensitivity that was going on there, especially when it comes to the job market. It changed my perspective of build and development from an engineering perspective into a more humanitarian perspective. How to use the construction process as a whole to make a humanitarian impact. So, and if I want to speak about the British context a little bit more, when I came here, I realized, and I think we all can realize the lack of labor here in the country, mainly when it comes to tradespeople working on construction sites. And on the other hand, I saw that there are large numbers of refugees who are really qualified and good tradespeople, but they do not have the accessibility, or they didn't have an opportunity yet to enter this, to practice their professions again here in the United Kingdom. Knowing that these professions for them are not only like a way to make a livelihood, it's more about an identity for them. When you have like a 40 years old professional person, it's more an identity. This is how he identifies himself. So here came the idea that we should establish a company, a non-profit contracting firm that would protect these refugees from working in the black market on one hand. On the other hand, to support the local construction market with more professional people. Also to develop their skills and help them to match their skills with the local standards here and get whatever certificates they need. And finally, and the most important thing is to shift the construction practice towards more upcycling, especially by investing in labor rather than buying new materials. And this would make sense in the view of rising cost of materials and the fact that our beneficiaries come from backgrounds where upcycling is a way of life.
And what would you say the impact is on somebody when they come to a new country and they find that their old profession isn't accessible to them anymore, and this is part of their identity? It's how they provide for their families. It's how they show the world who they are. What does it do to somebody if they can't do that?
Mm-hmm. Well, absolutely. Beside the financial part, I think this is something related to self-esteem directly and self-confidence. And this is why we can see some people are just being depressed and staying at home, doing nothing, actually not because they are lazy and they do not want to work. So they don't fear like the hard work, but what they fear is rejection. Again, here we are speaking about professional people who are there in their 30s or 40s. They find it really hard to go to a private contractor and be rejected because they don't speak the language very well, or because they cannot communicate with other colleagues on site.
And of course, some employers are wary of hiring refugees because they think they don't understand the rules around work permits and visas, and they think they might get into trouble for it. And as you say, there's the the knock-on effect of people having to work in the black market, and they're being paid less than the minimum wage, and they're being exposed to working conditions and hours that are below the minimum safety standards other people face. So what are refugee tradespeople do you have any examples of refugee tradespeople that you know? What are they doing now? How are they dealing with this problem?
I made a little survey that where I included about 15 people in this survey, and mainly people used to work in painting or gypsum board decorations, carpentry, and stone pointing. Some of the people who I interviewed are actually the younger people of the people who I interviewed now are working either in their professions, but in the black market, where you have another contractor mainly from European country that is hiring them and taking a high commissions from them. Some other people are just working in as a delivery or other professions that are not related to their experience. And the older professionals are just staying at home and not being able to find any solution for their problems, mainly because the language barrier, and absolutely because of the local credibility as well.
And how would you address the issue of some of the people who are, refugee tradespeople that you want to reach, and they're also excluded from the mainstream job market because they might have injuries, perhaps pertaining to bad things that happened in their countries, or even disabilities or mental health issues that they've sustained either through as a result of traumatic experiences in the past or just the pressures of going through the asylum system, and that those things inhibit their ability to work a normal 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. How do you see yourself supporting them in this scheme?
Well, the idea of We Rebuild is to create a supportive and friendly atmosphere for this category of tradespeople. And this is why they are finding the huge difficulty to join the private sector, because private sector is profit-led practice, while establishing a non-profit contracting firm will solve this problem, because we will prioritize people over making profit. Consequently, for those who are struggling with language and matching their skills and getting connections, they can work with us for 1 or 2 years. This may vary from one person to another. After this, they will have the confidence, the good language, and some certificates that they need, and the most important, the connections through their coaches and people who are training them. Consequently, they will be ready to leave us and join the private market. On the other hand, as you mentioned, if we have some people with disabilities or other things that prevent them from being involved in the private market, I think they would be welcome to stay for a longer time with us.
My next question is, when are you going to come and start this in Brighton?
Mm-hmm.
Because we really need it. And I think there's lots of places around the country that would really need this scheme. I think it sounds fantastic. Do you have plans to scale up once you're started? I know it's early days.
I think
probably not thinking about expanding around nationally just yet. But, I think if you could replicate it, that would be brilliant.
Hopefully. Currently I'm still working on the legal structure. I'm just trying to establish it legally. And afterwards, I will start from my city. I'm based currently in Edinburgh, so I will start from Edinburgh. And I will start on a very small scale, like doing painting jobs. And afterwards, I can develop to do stone pointing and carpentry, the thing that would require me to buy more machineries. And afterwards, I'm sure that what is correct for Edinburgh is correct for any other British city here in the United Kingdom. So hopefully, after 1 or 2 years, I'll be able to apply this idea again in Newcastle or in Glasgow or other cities as well.
And what are you looking for right now? Do you need, you're just getting started. Are you running a crowdfunder, or are you looking for investors to get behind and support the We Rebuild?
Mm-hmm. Currently, I'm running a crowdfunder campaign to have a spark to start my to start this project. What I'm looking for, the reason why I'm starting this crowdfunder campaign is that I need some money to approach some tools and safety clothes, and to be able to make some commitment with these people, at least on the short term for 6 months. Afterwards, I can start to take the first contracting project, a very small thing, maybe painting a flat or something like this. And from there, I will start to build a profile and develop from that point.
And so I have a website address of www.crowdfunder.co.uk/p/We Rebuild. And I'm going to put that on the Refugee Radio website as well, next to the other links for this podcast, so people can go and find out more about that and get behind it and support what you're doing. Well, congratulations. I think it's a brilliant idea. It sounds like it's really coming together. And as I say, as soon as you can, if you could just open up a branch in Brighton, that's going to be really handy. I've got a number of people I'm going to send to you.
Hopefully very soon. I would like to ask people to get in contact with me on LinkedIn, so we can see how we can collaborate and develop this idea.
Okay, brilliant. So I'll post your LinkedIn, a link to your LinkedIn profile on the website as well, so people can contact you.
Yeah, sure.
All right. I think you might get inundated, but let's see. All right. And also we have with us today Fred, who I believe is the mastermind behind the project to pull all of these new social enterprises together. Fred, would you describe yourself as a mastermind? Is that the correct? Is that your job title? Or
that's a good question. I would certainly not like to take the credit on my own, because I've had wonderful people working with me on that. My family used to have this board game called Mastermind, which I never really figured out as a kid. Maybe you remember this one, so I'm not sure I qualify. But in any case, I had wonderful partners in this endeavor, both in our organization at TERN, the Entrepreneurial Refugee Network, Stephen, but also in the form of our partner organizations, Results CIC, who are actually the lead partner on this project, who are a lived experience coaching organization. At least that's their most prominent value add to communities. People with lived experience are coaches at Results CIC, and they've actually coached Yusuf and Mjed and also 8 other entrepreneurs in this first cohort. And our wonderful colleagues, Homos Ahmadale and Jane, are both really excellent coaches. So they've certainly been there from pre-inception all the way to delivering the program. My colleague Lucas Farthing at TERN is our social entrepreneurship lead, and he has been supporting the entrepreneurs as well. So it is a very much a team effort. However, I can say the thought spark for this program actually started roughly 6 or 7 years ago. And I'm so glad to finally be able to specifically support social entrepreneurs with refugee backgrounds.
And I'm interested in the actual process of your, or either you or one of your colleagues is sitting in a room with Mjed and Yusuf, and they have ideas, or how do you develop a concept into, okay, if you take this bit and then you add this bit, then it turns this into a social enterprise, and that it could work if you do this. What does that look like?
Yeah, such a great question. I haven't had to explain the process before like this, so I love this. Let's see what I say. I don't know what I'm going to say. I think it starts with a distinction between ideas and mindset. And so ideas are ready for business advice, for structural thinking practices, and applying experience in building things, which I'll come back to in a second. And then mindset and helping entrepreneurs see that they can do it. So the coaching side of it and sticking to it, because it does take work and consistency, focus. So we've got the coaching side, and helping people with a mindset. So then they stimulate their own mind to be open and really be creative with it, unconstrained, but also to listen to others and seek advice and input from experienced people, perhaps specific to the social business idea. Meanwhile, when it comes to the structural aspects of the business, whether it's the legal structure, the financial planning, seeking partnerships in a strategic way, having a real business model, even if it's a nonprofit, could also be that it's a partially commercial entity in the sense that it's a social enterprise in the classic definition at the intersection of nonprofit and commercial. Whether it's building a volunteer force or a team, or whether it's building their first brand and website, etc. These are quite practical steps, but I think it all benefits from the experience of having built one or multiple social enterprises before. So it's, in my opinion, a lot about retro planning. I'm sure Mjed has a lot of insights into that. You have a vision, you understand roughly what is required to make a good building, for example. And if you roughly know the outline of what is needed, you have a skeleton that people need to fill with life that is specific to the business idea, So Mjed and Yusuf have different ideas, but under the hood, the motor parts might be similar, So I think we benefit from the experience of having supported social entrepreneurs before, having built our own social enterprises. And we help the entrepreneurs combine mindset, retro planning, and then starting to walk the steps they've retro planned in a forward thinking way. I hope that all makes sense.
Yes, I think it makes fantastic sense. And it's the social enterprise model offers a real third solution to the problem. Often we see with entrepreneurial refugees, some people will go either to private companies and the others will go into refugee community organizations, and both of them seem to have come with their own problems. With the private companies, as Mjed says, they're just driven by profits and they don't actually care, plus they have their own thresholds of what they're looking at, and you might not match up to what they're looking at even though your skills, experience and knowledge exceeds the rival candidates. And then on the other hand, the refugee community organizations, they do seem to be very difficult to sustain, very difficult to get off the ground, very difficult to resource. And often you see bright entrepreneurial people getting snared up when they don't seem to take it to the next level. And some of the refugee community organizations often come and go. Whereas something like a social enterprise model, it's perfect because it's self-funding, it generates its own income, and it's addressing these, broader problems in society. What's your background with this? You have been doing this kind of work for a long time, or is this your first experience working with refugee communities?
So it's been a while. I'm sure there's others who are listening, I hope, who are much more experienced than I am. But I've been working with entrepreneurial refugees for roughly 8 years now. Before that, I was in the kind of global education, open learning space, which is still relevant to the work now. It's about democratizing access to opportunities, education, and also ultimately leadership. So Yusuf, I very much relate to your mission. When I fell forward into social entrepreneurship, was kind of by necessity, because there were a few ideas that I felt I really wanted to pursue, inspired by people I met in East Africa doing consulting work with the UNHCR. Once I was working with social entrepreneurs in refugee settlements in Uganda, and then over time later collaborating with organizations with a similar purpose in Kenya and Egypt, that I actually really met a lot of people who I think Yusuf and Mjed would very much relate to and would love to meet at some point. And they were themselves people with refugee backgrounds who were still living in circumstances of uncertainty, at the very least, in East Africa and in Egypt. And basically, they were still pursuing, nearly at all costs at times, to start projects for their own communities. But because funding was very hard to access for them, or traditional nonprofit funding and donations and such, I think there was perhaps an inclination towards social enterprise, because people make ends meet. They have to. There's no social security net in those contexts. So I met a lot of very driven people, and they really inspired me to see whether there would be other people like them with forced migration backgrounds in other countries. I personally didn't plan to live in East Africa, for example, and had my life here in the UK with my partner and my family in Germany and France. So I felt maybe I'll start something in Europe. And so I kind of fell into social entrepreneurship because there was, in the UK at the time, no other organization truly pursuing this kind of support of, people with refugee social entrepreneurial backgrounds. And TERN was actually founded in part with this vision in mind 6 years ago. But I luckily met a few people, my co-founders, who are awesome and who brought in the more, let's say, business side and wanted to support entrepreneurs who were going to set up commercial businesses. And TERN ended up being not just what we do with Ideas into Action, but also supports entrepreneurs in other domains: food entrepreneurs, fashion entrepreneurs, e-commerce, technology, etc. And we brought in different skills and made TERN simply an organization that can support people across as many idea fields as possible. But for me, the red herring or the line throughout all of that is, I'm so glad that 5 or 6 years later, we're finally in a place to actually have a program in place that's going to have multiple editions that specifically will work with social entrepreneurs. So I'm particularly excited. This kind of fulfills my personal social mission so much, and my excitement, because I feel the UK is actually really ripe in a way for this, because there are other countries where starting a social enterprise or a, let's say, innovative, agile, non-profit is much harder, legally speaking, and also financially speaking. And in the UK, it's quite low entry. The community interest company vehicle, which a lot of our community members in this program will use, is flexible. There's many of them out there now. I think there's over 10,000 community interest companies in the UK. It's faster to register and easier to register than a charity. It's more agile, has certain liberties, of course, also some constraints. But I think that's a good landing point. If the legal foundation is there, it means it's accessible. And on the other hand, I think social enterprise, as you said, is thriving, it's rising, it's becoming more important. You're right to say that it has an important role in UK society. And I think that attitude is also conducive to people from refugee backgrounds being acknowledged and become visible with their ideas. So I think that's why I'm kind of in this space. That's why I'm excited about Ideas into Action as part of what we do. But for me personally, it really fulfills my purpose. And I'm happy to talk more about that if we have time.
Do we have any role models or success stories of individual refugees who've led social enterprises before?
Absolutely. I would say there's many out there, I imagine. And some I may have had the privilege to meet who are self-established or may have been supported by other organizations or have done it on their own, indeed, who are already years along. So, those hustlers that did it without the support structure, perhaps, or simply supported by other people. But I can speak about those who we have supported before this program was established. So there's a social entrepreneur called Usman Khalid. He runs Haven Coffee, which is now a bit of a mainstay in London. I'm pretty sure, Stephen, you would enjoy it. He is a coffee entrepreneur that employs people with refugee backgrounds and also provides training and upskilling in the barista space. He also runs a comedy show together with local comedy artists and a troupe of comedy artists with refugee and asylum-seeking backgrounds called No Direction Home. He also is involved in advocacy for people in detention. And so he's used his commercial enterprise, the coffee business. He runs a coffee shop in Walthamstow in London and also pop-ups at events and also trades online. He uses all of this as a vehicle to generate enough revenue to be able to do the other things and create a platform where consumers can also become advocates. There's also Majida Khoury, who is, or Korban actually, Majida Korban, who is the founder of Syrian Sunflower, another CIC. She uses catering of very delicious food as her commercial vehicle, but also transports her social message. So she has a special request to catering clients that at events she can tell the story of people with refugee backgrounds. She also creates employment opportunities. So again, you see a bit of a pattern. Each one has their own bespoke social causes, but they have a lot in common in terms of business model. There's also Yukai Taruvinga, who is a founder of Active Horizons. This one is actually registered as a charity, and they run now a community center in Erich Park in London for youth, not only from refugee backgrounds, also other migrant backgrounds, and also people from diverse backgrounds in London, and provide youth activities and adult support activities across a range of services. And what is cool about that is it's as opposed to a B2C business model for the social business, in this case a charity, it's a service model. So it's more B2B in the sense that there is a set of actors involved who originally owned the building and ran the building and had a contract opportunity with impact funders to run the building, but were looking for somebody with lived experience, with relevant experience, with a desire to run such a center and make it their own, fill it with life whilst fulfilling the impact criteria. And so she entered a service contract with this entity. So as you can see, there's of course different models which are relevant. I don't know if we want to mention one more. If so, happy to. There's Amina Kadogo, who runs ANC Admin Solutions. I think Yusuf is very familiar with Amina. She's actually kind of involved with his initiative, and I think they have a lot in common. I'm sure they'll collaborate and partner. Amina used to run and is still interested in running property-related business as a commercial business, but she has started ANC Admin Solutions, which is a social enterprise leaning slightly more towards I would say the B2B commercial readiness. And what she does is to connect freelance talent, mostly single parents, many with migrant and refugee backgrounds, but also other parents who are looking to get part-time work and who have experience in admin and creative skills that are relevant to many companies and organizations, especially charities and social enterprises, but also small businesses. And what she does is she builds this team, this roster, and then she connects them into client projects and hopes to make them recurring solutions as a human resource for the bespoke needs of those organizations without having to hire full-time staff. And she, of course, wants to put in place and has put in place important employment standards for those people, and also a sense of community and belonging amongst these people. So the roster of the team of ANC Admin Solutions. So yeah, if anybody's listening out there and has such needs, I'm sure they'd love to contact either Yusuf or Amina for different needs. And that I think very much complement each other. So yeah, I think these are all cool examples of pioneers. We did work with all of them, but they didn't have the Ideas into Action program, which is also based off of our experience supporting them in a, I guess, more ad hoc way in comparison to this more systematic approach.
And then in future, obviously, people will be adding, Yusuf and Mjed to these other role models and pioneers that we can use as an example for the next generation. Fred, do you want to give us those links again for people who want to dig into the crowdfunder or find out more about Ideas into Action projects?
Absolutely. So we actually have a aggregator page for the crowdfunders that are currently running. There's 3 other social entrepreneurs who are crowdfunding alongside Yusuf and Mjed. They are their classmates, if you will. That's Mariam, Ravi, and AJ, respectively, with a adult or parent co-working space with integrated childcare, a arts and photography for the progression away from trauma, and a football community league for young refugees and asylum seekers for social integration and community aspects. And so those are their 3 social missions, also really exciting. They're still crowdfunding for another 5 to 7 days. If they hit their targets now, they may extend their campaigns, such as Yusuf has done. In fact, Mariam is already on her stretch target, and so it will make them go further. I think the stretch target is their real goal in some ways, because we want to make sure this is all be worth it. They've put a lot of effort into these crowdfunders. So I've just posted the link here. It's crowdfunder.co.uk/programs with an S/TERN, TERN. And that's an aggregator page where people can see all the campaigns and they can decide where they want to give. Discover the amazing rewards that the entrepreneurs have put there. The crowdfunding levels have different rewards, and they're really exciting and relevant, I think. So people should take a look. I appreciate many don't expect a return of any form, but there is one in many cases. So do check it out. There is also a way of looking at the video pitches of the entrepreneurs involved in this program. There's more than the 5 I've mentioned, or 2 of whom you've of course met in Yusuf and Mjed. Here's another link, a link tree, which is probably best to look at in the website links that you'll provide, Stephen, which has the video pitches as well as volunteer forms from the entrepreneurs, meaning that people who are interested in giving their time, maybe on top of a donation to the crowdfunders, or simply just their time, which is of course equally welcome. Yeah, they can choose to check out the volunteer roles with the social enterprises in this cohort. If people are really interested in the program itself, maybe you're interested in referring aspiring refugee entrepreneurs, social entrepreneurs to the next cohort, which we hope to start in the autumn, like late autumn, between end of October and early November, we hope, then they can do so. They can read about the program in a website link on Results CIC's webpage. So as you know, these are our partners in running the program. I've just posted that link for you as well, Stephen. They can reach out with the contact details there. They can find me on LinkedIn and connect with me there and have a conversation. We're also interested in talking to match funders who might be interested in supporting refugee-led organizations, whether it's the alumni like Yusuf, Mjed and Co, or the next generation, and who are happy that we are doing the legwork to find the talent, support them, and that they're pretty much ready for funding when we introduce them. So I think that's a great opportunity for anybody who's looking for diverse founder talent in the social enterprise space.
Yeah, please do get in touch to learn more. Like, even if you can't support, contribute to crowdfunding, we would be happy to kind of chat what we can do together. So I want to kind of really reach out to communities and charities and organizations to make sure that we are doing things right when we're recruiting people, so that we're not actually discriminating, or we're not giving the opportunity to people where they already have a lot of skills and contributions that they can make to the communities.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much, everybody. Good luck with the crowdfunding, and hopefully we'll be talking to the next generation in a few years' time, and they'll be telling us all about how you're their big brothers and they look up to you, and you've mentored them through with their own successes. But thank you for coming and talking to the program today.